What's up, everyone? Before we get into the meat of this episode of OOTP 17, the expansion team franchise with the Vancouver Canadians, I keep trying to call them Montreal Canadiens. It's going to take a while. We have been terrible, and I'm going to get into that more a little bit later when we do the midseason review. Because we're about to do international free agent signing. But first, I want to make this trade. So Tanner Roark has been terrible this year, and we need a rotation spot because I'm going to show you in a second. One of the guys we signed is having an amazing stretch in AAA. Tanner Roark is 1-11 with a 7.65 ERA. Opponents are BABIPing 364 off of him, and he's been worth 0.2 negative wins this year, and his WHIP has been almost 2. I don't know his FIP, but I imagine it's terrible because he's has a very high WHIP, and usually the two are coordinated with each other. You have 5.73 FIP, which is by far a career high, and he has been real bad this year. So, and we wanted to clear up our rotation spot. He's going to be arbitration eligible next year, which automatically means he's going to be eligible for a raise too. And I was looking at the 1-for-1 trades, and Richard Urena came up as a possibility, and the OSA and Head Scout both have him as a 5-star potential guy. The Head Scout's just a little more fond of his ability to possibly hit home runs, and the OSA thinks he's going to be a better contact and gap guy than the Scout thinks, but they still have him being a pretty good home run hitter, and he's a great defensive shortstop too, and that's a position where we could look to improve in the future, and he's only a AA right now, so I'm definitely going to go through this trade. 896 OPS at AA, or the AA level. So we're gonna go through this and complete the trade, and he's gonna be in the DFA screen. So we're gonna go take care of that really quick, and then we're gonna get into the free agents, international free agents. Oh, here's the Norge Ruiz is the guy that I'm referring to. Now he. We signed as a free agent earlier in the year for a very hefty price. He started out as a reliever in the Saratoga Pumas. That's a weird team name at the AAA level. That's just where we automatically assigned him. And he's been very good in his starts. So these last 4 games when he started, he's given up 0 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, and then 0 again in a very solid stretch where he's lowered his ERA all the way from 3.38 to 1.91. And those are the 4 games he started right there. His 4 games started, 20 games total. So this one was a relief appearance right here. And he did struggle with walks in his first outing, but he's been very good since then. He's forcing ground balls. He had 11 in one start. He had 5 in this start and 7 in this one. And he combined it with the 7 strikeouts. Over 8 innings, that's 14 outs out of a possible 26, so 7 fly balls, yeah. So we're definitely going to be calling him up. Our team has been historically bad up to this point, and I think that's really due to our pitching, which I thought was going to be a stronger point of the team, but our team has been pretty mediocre. We're 23-56. 291 win percentage, and that would put us on pace for one of the worst seasons ever. I don't have the page open still. I had a page open earlier. I was looking up how bad we would be, not only in comparison to other teams but ever. And we were pretty high up there in terms of worst seasons ever up to this point. Where we have 291 win percentage. We're 20 and a half games out, and by comparison to this, Montreal is in 4th in their division. The Phillies are the only team worse than them, but they are also the worst team in the NL outside of the Phillies, and we're by far the worst team in baseball. They've won 50 percent, not 50%, 500ths more games than percent of their games than we have. So yeah, they won 5% more of their games than we have. That would be the correct way to say it. They won 4 more. In the same amount of games played. So we have been pretty bad, but the Phillies have also been kind of terrible this year. It's just the same thing as the difference between a good hitter and a great hitter is 3 hits a month. That kind of logic. So we didn't have any draftees, as you can see right here, because we didn't have a pick in the draft because we're a new team. We won't have a pick in the draft until next year, and it'll most likely be the first pick, barring unforeseen events. So our pitching's been terrible. As you saw Roark stats earlier, Erasmo Ramirez has actually been pretty respectable. His FIP is 4.5, which is and 4.83 ERA, but he's been walking a lot of guys, and he hasn't been getting a lot of strikeouts, and guys have just been getting hits because our defense is pretty terrible outside of one outfielder. Everyone is pretty bad in terms of defense, and Torres has been getting roughed up, but he's been turning it around a lot lately. His main problem is he's giving out too many walks. He was a 4.2 walks per 9, so... but he's someone that I'm not really looking to be great this year. I'm looking for him to use this as an improvement experience. And he only has 1 star according to this new head scout that we hired, but I'm hoping that he can have a breakout year eventually, or, whatever. It really doesn't matter to me either way. Our relievers have been real bad for the most part. High 1s for the whips. Paul Sewald is the only one who's been really good, and Chasen Shreve's had a solid year. Chasen Shreve's probably been our best reliever because Paul Sewald, whatever, I don't really know his name. He has a lot of strikeouts, and his FIP is very low, but his ERA is absurdly high, and it has been all year. I don't understand why. It just must be the defense just must play terrible for him. And Robles has been the same way, even though he hasn't been nearly as good as Sewald has been in terms of FIP, which... in this game is pretty much the 2 Asian judge pitcher. And no one's really made themselves stand out besides Shreve. Jake Barrett's had a solid year, but he's had a terrible FIP, 4.41, and his whip is 1.4, which is not awful for a reliever, but that would be like the 3rd best on our team, actually. So, 4th best. Sewald, Shreve, yeah. So Sewald's been having a really good year. It's just it hasn't translated to an ERA number, and he's been walking quite a few guys. And I think he has a weird home run problem. He's already given up 5 home runs this year, but Shreve's given up 6. So, and Burgos, I think it's really been Burgos' problem and Torres, I guess, to that extent too, is they're giving up a lot of home runs. And Robles has given up 12 in 50 innings. That's insane. All right, we'll look at the lineups real quick, just by OPS. That's not the right one. So a lot of our guys are right around 700, which I said last episode was kind of my threshold for being average at a position. We have 3 players below 700, Matt Reynolds, Wilson Ramos, both under, and Joey Ricard, who's only 677 OPS, but his BABIP is only 301, so that it's probably just a little bit of bad luck. He has 1 win though, and I think that's solely because of his defense. He has a really good zone rating in this season, +6, so. And 6.6, so he might just be getting unlucky. I don't know. He's been getting on base though too, 311, which is about 60 points higher than his batting average. Villar was on like a 14-game hitting streak, but he's been pretty mediocre outside of that. He's only been worth he's only been worth half a win this year. Van Slyke has been pretty terrible. His defense is real bad, -7 zone rating. And I thought at various points about moving him to first base, which is something I'm probably going to do when we trade Mike Napoli because there's no way we're keeping him. He's had a pretty good year. I wouldn't say an amazing year, but he's had a great year. He's been our best hitter by far, and he's been actually hitting pretty terrible, but he's getting on base still, so that's nice to see. He already has more walks this year than he did all of last year, and has played half as many games. So, well, not half, but a fraction. Ryan Shrimp started out really slow, but he's turned it around. 737 OPS, 11 home runs, 32 RBI. Our best hitter this year by far, though, has been Preston Tucker. He got a big boost to a 4.5 star potential, 4 star overall, and his home run power is ridiculous now. He's hit 10 this year already. 408 slugging percentage and 724 OPS, and he's been a really good defensive player too. Or actually, he hasn't been really good. He's been okay, 4.6. So I'm probably going to do something to realign everyone defensively. Although it doesn't really matter at this point because he doesn't have great defensive ratings anyway, and he's kind of evened out to be just as good in right field as he would be in left. So it really doesn't matter where we put him at this point. But there's a little bit of versatility there. Reynolds has been terrible. We already went over everyone. All right, so. That's been that. All right, we're going to get into international free agent signings. Pretty sure that's coming up soon. Yeah, in like 3 more days. So let's sim to that and see how much money we can sink into this, if anyone's any good. We're pretty much going to be going by our scouts ratings from this point on, unless it's someone that we drafted pre-scout replacement, because some of those prospects that we drafted in the draft aren't very good according to our prospect, which is fine because we're pretty much going to have to rely on building through the draft and signing free agents on low-level minor league contracts and making good trades to build up this roster, more so than just going out and signing a free agent like Steven Strasburg, because I doubt we'll probably have the money to do it, but I don't really think it would be very logical for our team, even though he is only 27 years old. So we had a Rookie of the Month, Ryan Shrimp. So we'll look at that in a second. Yeah, here we go. It should be somewhere in there. I'm going to delete all my messages in a second, too. International Free Agents period, signing starts. Rookie of the Month. So, yeah, he hit 272 with 9 doubles and 5 home runs and drove in 14 runs during the month. So that was really good stretch. Although he has been terrible overall on the season, 237 average. He's getting on base a lot, though, so compared to his batting average anyway. So I'm hoping that he can improve upon his performance up to this point, especially with the hot month he just had. Negotiate with draftees, we already did. So international amateurs is what we need. And see if anyone's any good. Does not look... Oh, that's all the way at the bottom. So it looks like there's one guy, and he's a catcher. 75,000 it looks like he wants. That's a really good deal. So we're going to give him a little bit more than that. We're going to give him like 300,000. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because if I give him this amount... that's $3 million. This amount, then he'll probably sign right away, and I won't have to worry about getting into a bidding war. So that's really good. That's a good deal for that. And we'll see what we're gonna see what the OSA says. It has a lot of guys here who are demanding a lot of money. So I think we're really only gonna go after that one guy because I don't feel like dropping all this money on a guy who's not even gonna be very good. I'm gonna look at one of these 4-star pitchers though, because they want a little bit less money, and that's a catcher. They want a little bit less money, but I still think I think it'd be wise to avoid it overall. So although this guy's potential ratings, they're not very good. Oh, that's the head scout. Yeah, see, some of these guys are just overrated for no reason. So we will take a second to look at Miguel Montez and Alex Hernandez, though. What the OSA thinks they're going to turn into. He's only going to have 3 pitches. That's not very good. I think we'll just skip out on that overall. And yeah, we'll meet you back at the next portion of this video, which will be the end of the season, or the trade deadline, excuse me. Then we'll do the end of the season wrap-up. So we'll look at some stuff, and then we'll be... All right, so we're at the trade deadline in the first season, and we have a trade that we're going to do here. So we got Mike Napoli, pretty solid year, 832 OPS. It's actually up from the last time that we checked. Very, very good year for him. And we also have Dallas Beeler, pretty much a throw-in in this trade. And Omar Finley, the guy who's really going to make this trade go through. He's a computer-generated player, 932 OPS this year. Pretty much home run hitter, and he gets on base. That's about it. And he's been to AAA this year. And that was the big piece that they needed to complete this trade. In return, we're going to get Nelson Gomez. Our scout doesn't really like him. He has him as a 3.5-star prospect. The OSA is pretty fond of him, though, so we'll see how that works out. And he doesn't really have a defensive spot right now, but we'll see how that works out. And the big piece in this was Leonardo Molina, a 4-star center fielder with really good potential for power and pretty good, decent defensive potential, and he's also very fast. So he has had kind of a rough year at short season A, but he's 18 years old or 19 years old, so hopefully he can work it out. And it doesn't really matter if we don't anyway. So I'm going to cut out, and I will come back with the final trade that we have working out for this season. So, all right, here's another trade we are going to make. We're going to trade Sean Rodriguez, coming off the books after this year, for Hyun-Soo Kim. We need another outfielder now, specifically left field, after we moved Mike Napoli. We're moving Scott Van Slyke to first base. So we're going to take this trade, and I'm gonna keep continuing to look for more trades. We need a couple. We're gonna look at a couple more trades for Will Venable and David Murphy. So we'll see if anything came up for it. Alright, so we did not find any other trades after the last one that I showed you guys, so we're at the end of the season, and we were pretty terrible. We were a lot better in the second half of the year, though, and there was a point actually where Montreal had a worse record than us. They were, I believe, it was about like 43 wins, and we had like 44 at that point, but a couple things happened. One, we went on an 11-game losing streak to end the year, and also we played a lot of divisional teams toward the end of the year, and as you can see, 4 teams in our division finished over 500, and our last series was actually against Texas, who swept us and won actually 9 of their last 10, including 7 straight, to make the playoffs. So they went on a tear at the end of the year. They're going to be a scary team in the wild card, and if they win the wild card, they will face the Cleveland Indians, who had the best record in the American League. They will face the Chicago White Sox for the right to play the Indians. And the Astros and Blue Jays will duke it out for that other spot. In the National League, the Mets and Nationals actually have to play a play-in game to see who's going to play the wild card against the San Francisco Giants, and then to also, the other one will see who's going to play against the Cincinnati Reds, as the Dodgers had the best record. And to put how bad we were in retrospect, we lost 4 more games this year than the Dodgers won. So that's pretty impressive. So we're actually going to take a look at Montreal first to see how bad their team was, and then we'll take a look at ours, and then we're going to get on out of here, and we will prepare for the offseason. So Mike Leake, 5.44 ERA. That is pretty bad. I don't know why it's showing batting stats. I'm looking at pitchers. That's pitching ratings. Pitching stats 1, I think, is what I need. Yeah. Let's look at them by FIP. Their best relievers were Alex Claudio had a good year. Evan Marshall had a pretty solid year. They had a pretty solid relief core between those 2 guys down there, and then a couple other guys throughout their lineup. It looks like Matt Andres had a pretty decent year, 3.63 ERA, 4.04 FIP. But their starting rotation was all real bad. Looks like Drew Pomeranz came up late in the year. Someone's listed as a reliever, it looks like. No, I'm just not. Okay, I'm just not. Scroll up all the way. Ross Stripling made it into the rotation sort of late in the year. Mike Bolsinger had a pretty bad year. But he was worth 1.3 wins somehow. Mike Leake was worth 2. It must have just been based on pitching performance when they pitched. Well, Mike Leake actually wasn't that bad. He had a 4.17 FIP, which isn't very good, but it's a lot better than his 5.44 ERA. It just looks like he had a lot of bad luck with hits. Yeah, he had 225 hits given up, so that was pretty terrible. And we're going to go look at their OPS for their team. It looks like they had a couple of pretty solid guys. Chris Carter had an 836 OPS. That's really good. Starlin Castro, an 804 OPS. Yordani Valdespin, 768. John Singleton at a 741. That would easily be the best of his career. Urshela had 718. Liriano, not so great. Contreras, not so great. Jed Jerko, really bad. Daryl Siciliani, who hit leadoff for them the entire year. They did a pretty good tank job. Keon Broxton at 578. That is just brutal. They were really not doing him any favors. So yeah, they were pretty bad. Our team I'm gonna guarantee was worse. So let's look at our. That's not what I wanted. I wanted rosters. So that we called up that pitching prospect, and then he had a bad stretch to start out the year, and I was willing to just give him time and then see where it was going to go from there. But the first time he actually had a good start, he had bone chips in his elbow and had to miss. See, he had 2 earned runs and 3 innings pitched. This game was solid. He had 7 strikeouts, but he also gave up 4 runs, but it was only on 6 total guys who got on base. In this game, he started out, and then he had obviously to have to remove his bone chips in his elbow. So he finished his first cup of coffee in the majors with 13 total innings pitched in 4 games started, 9 walks, 14 strikeouts. Not the greatest. He also gave up 3 home runs, and he finished 0-1 with a 7.90 ERA. So not the greatest start, but he was pretty solid in AAA, and Probably shouldn't have promoted him based on just one stretch, but it wasn't the worst decision we ever made. So let's look at our starters by FIP, or our pitchers by FIP. So nobody finished under 4, which is impressive because it's really hard to not do that. Paul Sewald was 4.11. Segrist 4.37 with a 3.96 ERA. His whip was so high. But you can really tell. Kyle Kendrick, we signed to a minor league deal, and he was really bad. Burgos was really bad. Torres struggled all season, and he finished 4-20. That's amazing, just based on the numbers. Obviously, you have a good year when you finish 4-20. Robles was real bad. These guys were all really bad, and I don't know if that's got anything to do with our defense, because every one of our defenders is really awful. So we made a switch also. We called up this Moore guy, and it looks like he did pretty solid, 708 OPS. He's a totally made-up character, or made-up player. He played really well in the minors, and we had an extra spot on our roster after we traded those guys. It looks like Rene Rivera finished the year hot. That's good. Hanser Alberto was our top guy in OPS. So Preston Tucker kind of cooled off, but there was a point this season where he was over 800 OPS. So really high hopes for next season for him. Wilmer Flores 792 OPS, so he finished the year strong. David Murphy in a little limited time at 746. We traded for, I believe I showed this, Hyun-Soo Kim. He finished with a 744 OPS, so that's good. Shrimp kind of struggled in the year. He dipped really low in OBP, but I hope that he can turn around next year. Scott Van Slyke was worth negative 1.3 wins, so congrats to him. Villar was pretty bad this year, second worst position player behind Wilson Ramos, and Ricard finished with 2.4 wins, even though he only OPS'd 649 all year. So really weak. And this is why I demoted Matt Reynolds to the bench, because I really didn't know what to do with him after a certain point. He just kept going down in OPS. So that was when I actually called up this Moore guy. So we had a pretty bad year all around. Bad pitching, bad hitting. Preston Tucker dropped to 4 potential stars, so he's really not going to get any better than he already is. And we have a little bit to look forward to this offseason. Not a lot to do. If we take a look at salaries next season, probably going to non-tender Wilson Ramos. Hyun-Soo Kim, I imagine, is going to opt out. We have a few raises that are going to happen. I'm probably going to non-tender Randall Delgado, although it might be worth seeing what he has in terms of bullpen. Because he was pretty terrible, or pretty good in the minors this year, and our bullpen was pretty much a mess. Probably not going to bring back Kyle Kendrick or David Murphy. Probably just going to let those guys walk. I don't know how many of these guys we're really going to keep on the team. A lot of them auto-renew, but these guys like Wilmer Flores we're obviously going to keep around. Scott Van Slyke I'm probably going to non-tender, most likely. But we'll see, obviously, what our options are in terms of free agents. We might have to bring some of these guys back just for low prices, like Erasmo. And this Ruiz apparently is on a $3.4 million auto renew. That's really strange. And Wilson Ramos, we're not going to keep Rene Rivera and Wilson Ramos, but I don't really know if it's worth keeping Wilson Ramos. He was pretty bad this year, but he was a lot better than he was the year before, so there is that. I don't really know what's going to happen this offseason. We'll look at the upcoming free agents for our team. Not really anything by way of interesting players. A lot of these guys are made up. And the other guys are Will Venable and David Murphy. But we'll look in general at the free agents for the upcoming offseason and then head on out. If I can remember where transactions, there we go. Free agents. And then we will go to, I believe this is where it is anyway, the upcoming free agents. Apparently Greg Holland went the whole year without being signed. So we got a few decent guys in free agency. We're probably not going to pursue any of these guys. Strasburg, maybe. But there's not really a whole lot of other guys who are going to be hitting free agency that are really that great or that young, really. We can go by age, actually. I don't want Bartolo Colon. Not for this team, anyway. Yeah, so the youngest guy to hit free agency is going to be Strasburg, and Aroldis Chapman's also 28, but he's not really in any shape to be turned into a starter at this point in his career. 25 stamina. He really only has 2 pitches, so that wouldn't really help us out to have a closer at this point. So probably not going to be doing a whole lot by way of that. So really not going to be a very eventful offseason. We're probably going to be just as bad next year as we were this year. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoy it, and see you next time for the first off